Hello, let's welcome the Rise of the Shadows because this will be new Hearthstone expansion. I want to split this video to two parts. The first one will be info about the new expansion, about the new mechanics, and later I want to review the new cards. It will be released on the 9th of April, and also there will be a pre-release. This means that there will be a special event, the Gathering, where you can experiment with new cards, also build your own decks, or just, you know, have a little bit of a head start during the new expansion. If there will be this kind of event in my city, I will definitely give this thing a try and record more videos for you. Also, we've got a twin spell. This means that you will have a spell and you can cast this once again, but it's not something like Echo. This won't vanish. You will still have this card and you can just play this in the right moment. So basically you have like two cards in one. Also Luckies. This is a really positive RNG because you will have a small pool of Luckies that you can get. Those will be 1 mana tokens, 1 mana minions, with some sort of good battle cry or just effect. So I think this is way better than, for example, RNG, when you can get a ton of stuff but from the really big pool, and then you can expect something like mind-blowing. And here, more or less, you can expect what kind of card you will get, and most of those outcomes are pretty okay, so you don't really have to be disappointed by this kind of idea. We'll also have schemes, cards which grow in power as they sit in your hand each turn. A really great and interesting mechanic at the same time, because when you will keep something, you will get just better card, you will get an upgrade. So also if you are a skilled player and you know what to expect and you can predict earlier that you will need this card, you can just keep this in your opening hand and then also get some sort of benefit for it. And I think this is a really rewarding mechanic, especially for those control players. So it might be some sort of buff for the new control or just slower decks. We'll see some of old mechanics return. For now, we know that there will be Forbidden. This is another really interesting mechanic. Not all of those cards were really as that powerful, but the mechanic on its own was pretty cool because you can adapt to a specific situation. You've got a 0 mana card that gets better over time because there was written spend all your mana. So for example, when you will have 10 mana and you will spend all of it on this one card, it will be basically better. So yeah, I just think that this is a good idea. If there was any kind of mechanic that served or worked pretty well, it might see a comeback. And then we'll see League of Evil. So this means that those classes will get their special hero, maybe some sort of, the evil dark side of themselves, and also Dalaran defenders. So basically we'll have like two different armies, or two different sides that will try to fight against each other. Probably every single one will get some kind of special hero related to this kind of theme. So this might mean that from the one side there will be the dark side that will try to defeat, and the other will try to protect the Dalaran. So it looks pretty interesting. The short info about the pre-order. Right now it will work just like in the Boomsday project. We'll have 2 bundles. In the mega bundle we'll get a little bit more packs and also the skin for the priest, and also the first week bundle. So this is something new because we'll get 10 packs for $10 and also arena ticket. It might be a pretty okay deal for people that are on budget, but I've got a really good answer to you, because at the beginning of the expansion I usually create budget decks because people really want to test out new stuff. They do not have a lot of dust and money. They do not really want to spend this on Hearthstone. So basically at the beginning of the new expansion I will create a lot of budget decks for you, so be sure to check that out. And right now let's go to the review. And we start with a big dragon for the mage. It looks really interesting, and especially because we've got a few more dragons out from Restek and Rumble. This kind of archetype might really work. If we'll see even more dragons for the mage, it will be really powerful. And right now let's think about how to put this into use. So we need to play some sort of big and expensive spells, and we'll get something on top of it. So we can play also this spell from the Balcry right away. Then, because this is super expensive, it might work in some sort of control mage. So we'll include, for example, blizzards, flame strikes, and so on and so on. But On top of it, we also need to find a win condition, so then we might, for example, also include Pyroblast or maybe even 2 copies, so then we'll be able to burst our opponent for 20 health points just in one turn after playing this dragon. It might look like a little bit weird win condition, but you can also get this randomly out from, for example, Fire Tree Witch Doctor, because this is one of the best cards if you want to play with dragons, and you should definitely include this in most of this kind of decks. I think a random Pyroblast from the Witch Doctor really won't hurt. So in my opinion, this is a pretty solid card, but we just need to see a little bit more dragons and then it will shine perfectly in this kind of deck. And the cute panda that will spread fire among the whole board. The problem is that it's a little bit hard to trigger. You need to empty your whole deck, and usually you want this kind of effect in a control deck against another control deck, but the problem is that most of those decks will just find an answer to it. They have a lot of board clears, they have just weird ways to cheat out stuff, just combine, for example, 2 cards in order to clear the whole board. And the problem is that, for example, if Control Warlock will be viable, Twisting Nether will just destroy everything on board. Even, for example, Warrior will have few tools, like for example Brawl, to just get rid of all those minions, and there will be only one. So this is not reliable enough, and this is not something like the Mechatoon. For example, Mechatoon is way better and consistent because you play a lot of defensive tools and card draw in order to get to this win condition, and when you will get it, you actually win. And here it might work, but it might not, and also on top of it, it's really hard to trigger because you need to like get through all your deck. Archvillain Ratham. This is a really interesting thing. We already saw something like a Star Seeker and other different variations of ways how you can get those legendaries. It's definitely fun to play because then you can just generate more value and see what kind of random Lorewalker Chaw or Nat Pagal you will get out from it. But to be honest, this is not really as that powerful. In Control Warlock, it might be okay if you've got like last few cards and you want to turn, for example, your Hellfire into something a little bit more useful. Yeah, okay, then it might work, but just in a Control Warlock, just in something, you know, a little bit weak, as a specific way to turn those useless cards into something playable, because most of those legendaries can generate value and they can be some sort of threat that you can just put on board right away. So this is not a bad card, it's just a little bit hard to execute and a little bit slow. And yeah, Control Warlock might work, because this is usually a really good deck because we've got a ton of powerful tools. The problem is that sometimes you can just find a way more reliable win condition than just, you know, some sort of fate or trust in the RNG. And the Druid spell with the new mechanic. It might be a really interesting option, but why? This is not a huge amount of value, you just generate board out from nowhere, just with one card. But because you will have a second copy, it's not really as that weak against any kind of board clear. Let's say that your opponent will play Hellfire or something like Primordial Drake, then they will kill all your trends. But a second copy of this card, and then they will need to find an answer. You spend only one card because that was a 2-pack. The second one was for free, and your opponent just used 2 cards. So that's why this card might be pretty okay and interesting at the same time, especially right now when we lose Ultimate Infestation and we won't have such a reliable, it's not a win condition, but such a powerful card draw and just an engine to get way more cards and way more steam. So right now we can just keep faith in this kind of huge trend generator. And this is a comeback of the Forbidden Word, or Forbidden Words, I should say. But this card is really amazing and powerful at the same time because it can adapt to a situation. No matter if this is a big minion, if this is something small, you can just answer to it. You, for example, want to develop a minion and spend the rest mana on killing something. Again, why not? You can just do it. So this card is great, I really like it. This is the first card that will create Luckies, those 1-drops with a specific effect. This card alone is pretty weak because you do not really get a ton of stats, and those Luckies are not really that much worth it, but I really like this idea. So if we'll just find a different way, slightly stronger, card that will generate luckies, yeah, definitely it will be great, but this one sucks a little bit, just because this is a combo, not some sort of battle cry, so you can't really play this on curve. First you need to, for example, combo this with a backstab, and you lose a lot of tempo in order to get those cards. If you get a huge reward and you lose tempo, that's fine, but here you lose tempo and you get a pretty mediocre reward. First luck you will discover you a spell, which is a pretty okay thing because you've got a small 1-drop that also can trigger some sort of combo effect. So theoretically you might say, oh okay, so it actually works in some sort of rogue deck because you at the beginning combo the lucky generator, then you play lucky in order to trigger another combo, but still, you know, this is slow. Hearthstone is usually about playing on curve and being aggressive, if you remember the Hunter Stone. But yeah, this card alone is pretty fine. This is probably one of the worst luckies because, okay, cool, you can develop more stuff on board, but it's random, so you might get the Doomsayer, maybe a 1-1 or the Millhouse Mana Storm. So just because it's not super reliable, you can get a random stuff. It's really mediocre. This one will allow you to control the board and also value trade because you can use the rush mechanic in order to trade into something, and then your minion should probably survive, so then you can use this once again on the next turn in order to maybe hit face or just trade once again. This is such a super simple effect, but you know, 2 points of damage built into a 1-drop. It's just great, especially if you want to kill something small or just deal a little bit points of damage. Simple as that. In my opinion, this is second most exciting lucky because you can use it, for example, on one of your big minions. So first you trade into something, it should survive, and then you can transform it into something bigger. So then even if you will get the worst outcome, if your RNG is not on your side, then you will still heal this minion because usually it will have more health points, and maybe even on top of it you will also benefit. So in my opinion, a really interesting one. And we've got another interesting mechanic, because right now we can protect our hero from dying to any kind of spell or hero power. So yeah, okay, it looks really interesting, but we had ability to use this kind of mechanic previously with Cobalt Monk, and for 2 years no one even touched this card. So why right now would I even include Spell Word in my deck? So in my opinion, this is a tech card that's trying to counter something. But at the beginning, we should see what should be countered, because like Pyroblast right now, it's not used. So what's then? But this might mean that there will be something weird and specific. This is like this small little clue what kind of thing we might counter. And the last card, a board clear for Shamey. A really interesting option because you can deal a ton of damage with it, especially when you will keep it in your opening hand. So it might look like the control Shamey right now will be another viable and great thing. So yes, I'm really excited about this card. I think it's really powerful. There is only one scenario when it sucks a little bit. When you will top deck this and you want to deal a ton of damage, then deals Batman, I will deal just 1 point of damage for 5 mana, so basically this is one of those cards that you should definitely keep in your opening hand, especially against aggressive decks. But yeah, this card is great, and the whole mechanic, because yes, it works just like you thought. This will deal on next turn 2 points of damage, then 3, and so on and so on, so it will just, you know, it will be bigger over time, and I think this kind of mechanic is great. I just wanted this kind of thing to be introduced long time ago because it actually rewards control players, and yeah, it's just better. For example, on turn 5, deal 5 points of damage to everything, clear the board. Great. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this, remember to leave a like and subscribe. I will also do more videos about the new expansion, about my thoughts, and also just, you know, trying to predict what kind of new exciting things we might test out and see. And also I would like to invite you tomorrow to my live stream, because then we'll play with off-meta decks in Legend, because today I managed to finally beat the Hunter Stone and hit Legend. So yeah, let's just test this out, beat this out, test new stuff. Let's talk and see you later.